Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to clarify you the structure of neuron. So what is neuron? Neuron is the nerve cell. Nerve cell is called the neuron. So it is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. What is actually the nervous system? Nervous system helps us to communicate with the environment. The changes with in the environment we can feel, we can realize the changes by the presence of our nervous system. So nervous system helps us to communicate with the environment. So neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. It is originated from the ectoderm. So the origin is from the ectoderm. What is ectoderm? We have already learned that when the zygote formed, it develops. After the formation of zygote, it develops. At the way of development, there is a cleavage. First blastula, then gastrula, then blastula. First morula, blastula and gastrula. These are the steps of cleavage. Okay, so at this point, when the gastrula stage comes, it forms three layers at the for the fetus. Three layers. Endoderm, the innermost layer was the endoderm, middle layer mesoderm, and the outermost layer is called ectoderm. That ectoderm layer is responsible for the formation of the nerve cell. Okay, so here the origin is ectoderm. Okay, now the nature of the neuron is it's a excitable cells as it generate the action potential. What is action potential? Action potential is actually when the impulse come to the neuron, it conduct the impulse throughout the membrane of the neuron. That whenever the impulse conducted through the neuron, it changes the charges across the membrane. That changes is called the charge changes is called the action potential. I have already made a video particularly on this topic, that is on the action potential. Please go through that video, you will be clear about that concept. Okay, so here neuron is a excitable cell as it generate action potential. Okay, now come to its parts. Neuron has mainly two parts. First is the cyton and another one is neurites. Neurite is further divided into, actually neuron has the cyton or cell body and the processes. There are some processes structures that are neurite. These are of two types. One is axon, another one is dendrite. Okay, now come in detail through the diagram. So here is the structure of neuron. This is the cell body. The cell body is also called soma or cyton or perikaryon. Perikaryon. And this is a processes called axon, and these processes are called dendrites. Dendrites. Okay, dendrites are taper in their structure, tapering, and they are branched. Tapering, branched, and they act as an afferent. Afferent means they receives the signal. Dendrite receives the signal from the previous neuron and it through the impulse for the next part of the neuron. That is from the to the axon, and then axon, from their axon terminal it gives that impulse to the next neuron. So the dendrites are actually receiving the signal. That's why they are afferent in nature. So they are afferent in nature, dendrites. Okay, now come to the inner part of the cell body. The inner part is as it is a cell, so it contains some organelles, and the cytoplasm inside the cell body is called the neuroplasm. Neuroplasm, and it has a nucleus. And it has some fibrillar structures. These fibrillar structures are called the neurofibrils. These are neurofibrils. Okay. These neurofibrils are actually acts as a cytoskeleton. They give support. Another cell organelle, that is mitochondria, is here. Mitochondria, Golgi bodies. These are the cell organelles present in the cell body. A special structure, that is the Nissl granules. There are some granular structure called the Nissl granules. They are called Nissl granules. They are actually rough endoplasmic reticulum and ribosome, mainly responsible for the protein synthesis. They can only found in the nerve cells. Okay. And a very important thing is that nerve cells cannot divide. Okay, nerve cells cannot divide. Their length is an example of long cells. So their length is much more. Maybe it's up to 1 meter. But they never divide because of lacking centrosome. So centrosome is absent here. Centrosome is absent here. It's very important. That's why nerve cells cannot divide. Now come to the next part, So after the cyton, the cell body, there is a junction between the cyton and axon. That part is called the axon hillock. That part is called axon hillock. Axon hillock. And then there is a axon, the long processes. The cytoplasm within the axon is called the axoplasm. And the membrane of the axon is called axolemma. Axoplasm and axolemma. Axon is surrounded by a cell that cells. These cells called the Schwann cells. These cells called Schwann cell. Okay. Schwann cell, at its inner side, it contains a fatty layer. That fatty layer, I point out here by the yellow color. Look at the picture. There are two Schwann cells I have drawn at the front part of the axon. They are placed like that. Suppose this is the axon and the Schwann cells are like that. Okay. So they are holding the axons. But here is a sectional view of the Schwann cells, that they are present first axon, then there is a myelin sheath, and then after the myelin sheath there is a Schwann cells, and these are the nucleus of the Schwann cells. So this is the Schwann cell, and the membrane above the Schwann cell, is called the neurolemma. A question most often it comes, that is, what is the difference between neurolemma and axolemma? Axolemma is the membrane that comes after the axon, and the neurolemma is the membrane that covers the Schwann cells. Okay. So between the two Schwann cells there is a gap. That gap is called node of Ranvier. Okay. Now come to the end part of the axon. The axon at its end part, it is divided into branches that are called the axon terminals. These are axon terminal. Okay. And at the extreme end, they have a bulbous structure. That bulbous structure is called the axonal end bulbs. Okay, so I just revise the part I have already explained. First there is a cell body, then there is a axon. There are two processes, dendrites and axon. Dendrites are tapering branched afferent in nature. Axons are efferent. Okay, they are giving the signals for the next neuron. And this part, the junction of cell body and axon, there is the axon hillock, and there is the cytoplasm inside the cell body is called the neuroplasm. It has nucleus, has Golgi body, has mitochondria, and the two important characters, that is, they have Nissls granules specially that are the site of the protein synthesis, contains rough endoplasmic reticulum and ribosomes. And another most important thing is that centrosome is absent here. As centrosome is absent, so they are non-dividable. They cannot divide to form the new cells, new nerve cells. Okay, they are longer in length, but they are non-dividable. Next, the axon is surrounded by a group cells. That cells are called the Schwann cells. Schwann cell at its inner side have a fatty layer. That fat layer is called the myelin sheath. That fatty layer is called myelin sheath. And the neuron which have the myelin sheath, we call them as a myelinated neuron. Okay, and the neuron lack of myelin sheath called non-myelinated neuron. Okay, then the axon come, and the cytoplasm within the axon is called the axoplasm, and the membrane of the axon is called the axolemma. Okay, one more thing is that there is a myelin sheath, and after that there is a Schwann cells, and the membrane of the Schwann cell is called the neurolemma. Okay, so is it clear to you that what is the difference between axolemma and neurolemma? Now come to the end part. The axon divided into branches. That branches are called the axon terminal, and at the extreme most terminal position there is a bulbous structure that are called the axonal end bulbs. Now I am coming in detail of the axon bulb. So this is the axonal end bulbs. This is the axonal end bulbs of one neuron, and this is the another neuron. So here within the bulb there are vesicles. Okay, these vesicles contains a chemical that chemicals called the neurotransmitter. Okay, so synaptic the axonal end bulb contains a vesicle, and that vesicles contain within it a chemical, that chemical named as the neurotransmitter. That neurotransmitter is conveying the signals to the next neuron, and the gap between two neuron, this is the neuron 1 and that is another neuron 2, the gap between two neuron is called the synaptic cleft. This is called synaptic cleft, and the junction between two neuron is called the synapsis. Whenever the two neuron form a junction, that is called the synapsis. And when the neuron it form a junction with the muscle, that is called the neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. So what actually do the neurotransmitter? Look at the diagram. This neurotransmitter, when the impulse come, action potential generated, and by the action potential that impulse come to the end of the axon terminal, and then when they excited, that vesicles come to the extreme part, come to attach with the membrane, and it releases the neurotransmitter in the gap in the synaptic cleft. These vesicles release the neurotransmitter in this gap, and then the next neuron receive the signal. In that way, the impulse conducted from one neuron to the next neuron. Okay. So these are all about the structure of neuron. If my video help you, then definitely give a like. Your one like make me inspired for making more new videos on different topics. And if you are new in my channel, then definitely subscribe my channel for getting up new video. Thank you for watching. I will meet soon with new topic. Till then, take care. Thank you for watching.